Welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of several books, no other than Mr. Simon Yates.
Daniel, it's a pleasure to be back on the show again.
Welcome back, Mr. Simon, and can you please introduce yourself?
My name's Simon Yeats. I'm an Australian living in the USA, have for the last 32 years, and I'm sometime author, sometime traveller, sometime rehabilitation specialist, sometime boyfriend, although if you ask my girlfriend, she'll tell you I'm the least of that uh, on any given day.
Yes, sometimes travelers. So let's talk about the place that you've been through, especially Argentina. Tell us the writing process of this travel book.
Well, this one is the fourth, although I have started work on my fifth one in the series. As I always do, I get my cover done first to give me motivation to then write the stories. But I've mapped out all the stories, been doing that over the last weekend. This book is a little bit more mature. Um, uh, Simon Yeats traveling in this book. Some of the stories are when I'm in my 40s and 50s now, and I'm sort of looking back at the younger travelers that I'm meeting in the youth hostels or just on the planes or just in the airport, and sort of like chuckling to myself, like, "Holy crap, was that me when I was in my 20s and 30s?" And uh, just sort of also sort of scratching my head sometimes at wondering how the younger generation are going to survive because some of them appear relatively clueless. Um, but they say, for all I know, I was just as clueless when I was their age. But you sort of forget about those moments. So that's the 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 main where these stories are at. There's still some stories from several years ago, but a few more stories about me being an older traveler. And I'm trying to think of where we cover. We cover Brazil, I think still New Zealand, some Australia, the odd spot in Europe in this book. Um, there wasn't any geographical region associated with this. It was just stories that I remember that didn't uh, quite make the other three books in the series.
Thank you so much for sharing your wow travel life, Mr. Simon. So, what challenges have you faced when you're writing this
I'm
book?
sorry, what was that again, Daniel?
What challenges have you faced when you're writing this book?
The only challenge that I think anyone faces, or that's, I mean, again, probably what is that it's just the self doubt. Writing is such a brutal uh, thought. When you first write a book, probably not so much because you don't realize just how when someone reads it and critiques it, how much it's going to be an absolute dagger through your heart when someone says this is terrible or this is crap. You've put your heart into it. You think you've done everything right. Um, you've poured your heart out into a story, and people are just like, oh, this is horrible. I went through years of that. And I'm still, you still go, I'm still a little bit scared that what happens if people don't like to read it, and I simply deal with that by going, well, I don't care whether anyone reads it. I'm not doing it for other people to necessarily read. I'm doing it for my own satisfaction to write the books to say, if I was ever out and about, someone asked me, "What have you done in life?" I've written 6 books. Like, wow, that's an accomplishment. Has anyone read them? No, no one's read them, but I've written 6 books, and that's all that matters. Um,
Yes. Sharing your talents to the world is something else. People also stop procrastinating. If you have something to share, 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 share. So, how do you handle writer's block when you're writing this travel book?
the writer's block has never affected me, funnily enough, and I think that's because of the fact I chose to write memoirs rather than writing a story or a fictional story where I've got to invent characters and then where's the story going to go, whatever. I already know where the story started, middle, and ended because it's already happened and I've already known. So all I'm doing is just recounting or remembering what went on. um, and then as we talked about in one of our other episodes, filling in a little bit of blanks with some history, some of the history of where I might have been, or some of the history of the people that I might have met, or something along those lines. That's easy. It's just going and googling. Look up Eschenbach, Germany, and get the history of Eschenbach, Germany. Look up, the Boer War, okay, and get some information about the Boer War. So there's no block there. And like I say, my stories are all real life stories that have happened to me. So I just write them as I remember them. So I've never had to deal with writer's block in my writing career. Thank God.
Thank God. Yes. So, Mr. Simon, how do you approach the research process for this book?
The I can spell it out for you here, so you can show you a little bit, mate. So I wrote down the stories for the next book that I'm writing, and then I had to sit there and go, right, put them in chronological order. So I went through and say, right, when was I in South Africa? What year? Okay, 2008. Right, then this story happened. When was that? 2011. This story, that was recent, 2024. And then I just go through and look and said, right, this story was in 1975, so that goes before the story in 1980. And then I had the story from 1988, another story from 1998, then a story from 1993. So I just then put them into chronological order as they occurred, and then when I write them, I'll start at the very beginning. I'll write that first story, and as I go through, there may be some joke or something humorous or something that links a story that happened in 1988 with a story that happened in 1973. And that's what I love about writing, is when you sit there and go, wow, I just realized why I thought that or did that in 2022 is because of this story that I was just writing that I just remembered to be not happened in 1978. Wow, I've never pieced those two things together. And funnily enough, sometimes those stories go from book to book. Sometimes it's always funny when I go, wow, I've got three connections in the same book. Isn't that weird that six different stories, three of them matched up with three earlier ones, and I never saw that before in my entire life. And it's only because I'm writing it down that I've suddenly had the realization that, wow, my life has sometimes repeated itself, or there connections that I've never seen before. And that's always, it's thrilling. It's incredible sometimes when you see that happen. And there's a larger plan going on that none of us have an idea about, what it is, but we are just along for the ride.
Along for the ride, and history repeat itself, as they said. So, what's your favorite book that you have written and why?
Uh, I actually like the one book three in the series, um, Dancing with the Mafia in Germany. Um, they're again the same, exactly same reason. Um, One of my favorite stories when I was catching up with my sister and my nephew in Bulgaria, and part of that story tied in with an earlier story from when I was in Sweden. And even though I knew of the connection, it just sort of like I just sort of enjoyed going. Yeah, I remember from 6 7 years before, and maybe even longer than that. Maybe it was like 10 years before. Yeah, that this had occurred in Sweden, and then my experience in Sweden helped me when I got into a situation in Bulgaria 10 years later. And I was like going, that's why you live life, so that you get all this experience that you can use as you get older, to get you out of messes, to get you out of um, tight spots. And the jokes and the humors that I wrote, that I'd had three books under my belt, two books under my belt, and so I really was enjoying the process of writing that book. It was about Europe. A lot of the stories are in Europe, and it was so fun recollecting just how breathtaking it was on my first trip to Europe. How overawed I was and how excited I was. Every little thing, um, you know, was thrilling me to the core. And it was fun to relive that again, because I do love going to Europe. I'm off to Europe in 2 weeks. I'm really excited about it again. Um, and that's what I love about travel. It's always can be the same place you're going back to, but it's always going to be new. It's always going to be exciting and different. There's going to be new people, new things to have, and the weather's going to be different. Maybe beautiful and sunshine the first time you go to Paris. It may be snowing. The second time it may be drizzling with rain. Then you make the most of it, no matter what you know
Well,
the circumstances are.
yes. So, can you share a memorable moment from your writing career?
I remember when was the first time I had probably read a review, and someone just said, "I laughed my ass off," and you just sort of, that's the whole point. I mean, the books aren't serious, although they are serious because it was about thrills and about my enjoyment of being in travel. But I poke fun at myself a lot. I take the Mickey out of myself a lot. And for someone, funnily enough, some people read that and they are put off by that, which is weird. It's not their sense. It's not to their sense of humor at all. But when someone goes, "Yeah, I really like the humor," that, and I remember reading that review and like going, "Yep, I'm. If I've made one person happy and one person's read the book, then you know what? Hey, I can cop crap from 100 other people. It doesn't matter. I've got one person that said, "Yeah, it was a great book. I really enjoyed it." That's all you need.
For sure. So, what would be your advice to those aspiring writers out there?
Uh, I was told this by my uh, ex-wife. Actually, I'd written a book, one of my first books, which I've rewritten several times, and I not sure if I got a bad review or I got a so-so review or a ho-hum review from someone, and I was again. I thought the writing was very funny and it was a really good story. And my ex-wife basically said, "You know, it is, but not to everyone." And don't be discouraged by the fact that you get negative criticism. Like I like happy. I'm quite happy with the you've misspelled a word here, or you made a glade. You made a glade. You said Antarctica when you probably meant Arctic, and I was like, oh my god, how could I miss that? How did the editors miss that? Um, but when someone, and there'll be people say, I just don't get it. I don't get the. You can even see it as in the review. The way they write the stories, like going, this is what the story is about at all. This person's just not paid attention, or they just haven't been invested in, or they didn't like something about it. Um, and you just uh, go, okay, that person didn't give it the attention it deserved. Don't be discouraged by that. When the right people start to read it and like it, then you'll go, okay, you know, yep, that will give you more confidence to write again. And the process of writing is simply about rewriting. It is, you are just never just fall in love with rewriting because you're never going to stop writing. I love going back and tinkering with some of my books and just rewriting little, adding in jokes and then going and re-uploading it to Amazon. It's it never stops. It's always enjoyable. I'm doing it for the fun of it. So that's what you want to keep in mind. You're doing it for your own enjoyment, your own experience, your own output. You're not doing it for someone else.
Yes, rewrite, 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 people, because you can see the mistakes while you're rewriting. So, how do you balance your writing with the other aspects of your life?
What I do is I write a book and then I just go, screw it, not going to write another one. And I walk away from doing everything and I'll get into going to the gym or I'll do something else for a couple of months. And then I'll say, literally, as I did this last weekend, my girlfriend's best friend was visiting us and she asked me about my books. And I said, I showed her the 4 books that I've got here from my library. And she's like, oh, these titles are fantastic. They're so humorous, and told her a little bit about the stories. And then sort of threw out a couple of stories that weren't actually in those books. And I thought, I'll just go and write a little note just in case I ever decide to write another one, that I'll put those stories in. And then we kept on talking, and then another story popped in my head. So I went and wrote a note about that. And that's what ended up being this piece of paper of all these different stories of that I had on Saturday morning, saying, you know what, maybe I've got enough here to write another book. And then I thought, I'm off on another trip in 2 weeks anyway. I'm sure that will give me a couple of chapters of adventures and screw ups and disappointments and things to laugh about and things to cry about. And so yeah, I probably got enough that if I sit down and attack it, that uh, I could write another book in 2 months or so. So that's what my next plan is. But I say my last book came out. When are we now? Now shoot, uh, May. Yeah, so I finished in May. Haven't thought about writing. I haven't thought about anything since then. June, July, August, September, and now suddenly end of October. I'm like, you know what? I think I've got the writing bug again. Can I get a book done by New Year's Eve? I got no audio, Daniel.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
So, how has your writing evolved over time?
Uh, I think that I've gotten less serious in terms of, like I say, I've discovered that I'm writing for myself. Um, I'm writing for the enjoyment of writing. I don't have to. Um, I'm not writing a big deeper message other than just get out, see the world, experience life for yourself. You know, travel, be your own person. Um, that's the message. But you know, uh, if someone wants to heed it, great. If someone doesn't want to heed it, great too. That's their own life. So I'm just saying, like I say, I'm writing for me. Whereas probably when I first started writing, I thought I was writing for someone else, or I thought I was writing for other people, and then I sort of realized, no, I'm writing for me. So now when I write, I say I write for the enjoyment of it. You know, if I don't want to write today, I don't have to write today because I probably won't enjoy it if I don't want to do it. And then there are days where I'm like, shoot, I'll do 8 hours after my work, or I'll just write. And that's what makes it fun all the time. It would be otherwise it would become like a job, and most people's jobs suck. And so why would I want to do something for 8 hours a day on top of my 8 hours of work, which already sucks? Why would I do another 8 hours of sucking? So that's the biggest evolution. I think that how to enjoy every moment of writing, whereas at the beginning I sort of like was struggled a little bit more.
So, what are your some of your goals or aspirations as a writer?
Right as of right now, it's now to finish this fifth book in the series, um, and then uh, I would uh, we say you've already partially met the goals to go on a podcast and get to talk about my books and be taken semi seriously as a writer that I've written a couple of books, um, and so I the only thing next thing I can do is be on another podcast and finish this other book. But yeah, my goals are very in keeping with the writing. Is very minimalistic. Like I say, I want to enjoy everything that I do. If I didn't enjoy coming on the podcast, I wouldn't go on a podcast. And I hope that, like I say, one as I know this message always struck with you to get out and experience life for yourself, to get out and travel. If one person goes, yeah, I'm going to go up and plan on a trip that I thought I would never take, but I'm going to actually go ahead and make the effort, then I've succeeded uh, beyond my wildest dreams. That I've helped one person have a better life, and not a lot of people can say that.
You're most welcome to come back and promote your upcoming book, Mr. Simon. So, what is something you wish you had known when you first started writing?
I wish I'd known probably how to uh, structure the time during the day, to organize, yeah, when to stop writing. There's some days where I have, like, say, I've exhausted myself till 2 in the morning, and um, uh, just sort of go, it's write down some notes. Always get really worried that I'm going to forget everything, and so I didn't write as many notes as what I do now, so that I don't have to get so panicked that I'm going to forget. A great line or a great joke or a great remembrance of something that occurred, or a great message about a particular story. So knowing that if I can write notes, I can come back to those notes at any time and put that information uh, into the book. I've gone to the gym and be halfway through a session, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, yeah, that's will be something really funny for you know, uh, remembering that was something that really funny that I need to put that into the book, and I'll leave the gym and have to go back and type it into my computer as opposed to just going, get pull up my phone, leave myself a message, and I'll get back to it, in 2 or 3 hours. I don't have to because I forget. I leave the gym if I don't do leave or do myself a message. I'll leave the gym like I can't remember what that funny thing was, and I'll then get really mad and frustrated. Like, oh, I thought I had a great idea, and now I can't remember it at all. So, like I say, I used to cut things short to go and write right then. I now know, you don't have to write all the time. Just leave yourself some notes, when you have your 3 hour writing slot at night, go and put all your notes and go and put it all in your book at that time.
Yes, yes, yes. So, lastly, to sum up our discussion, how do you hope your books will be remembered or appreciated by future generations?
I honestly think future generations will read them, and go, "Wow, we could never imagine life would be that much fun, or that much, or that crazy." I think life is going to be, and travel is going to be a little bit more in cotton wool buds for people going ahead. It's going to be a matter of playing safe. Even with me, my travels now are much more conservative, much more safer. But I think even for younger people, they're not quite as wild and crazy and spontaneous as some of my travels in the book. So for people later generations, they'll be like, wow, the world was a different place. The way people thought very differently 20, 30 years ago, because I would never do this. And I say, I even feel that now. I look like going, I wouldn't do half the shit that I've done in my life. Maybe not even 90% of the shit would I even attempt to do again, or come close to, or even sometimes encourage someone else to do. Um, it just like scares me, some of the things that have occurred. And I think future will have the same sort of feeling. They'll be like a young 20-year-old person will be like a 57-year-old me, like, oh my god, this is too scary. Yeah, that's I think the world is getting a little bit, I say, a little bit softer, a little bit less adventurous, um, and plays their uh, uh, keep their cards closer to their chest. And so the books will hopefully be a reminder of just like, just when life on Earth used to be a little bit crazier and wilder, and a little bit more freer. You didn't have to worry about violence, or losing your life, or you know uh, getting in serious trouble as much. It seems that's more of a worry nowadays.
Okay, Mr. Simon, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
All right, I'd love to. My name's Simon Yeats. You can find all my books on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. The name of my fourth book, How to React When Woken at 3 a.m. by drunk Argentinian backpackers while staying in a youth hostel. Another lesson on travel tips. It's the lesson on travel tips series. They're all available $4.99 on Amazon for the ebook, $14.99 for the paperback. And I say, read them and just have a good laugh and be inspired to say, even if it is just a walk down to your uh, local downtown to go on a bit of a pub crawl with you and your girlfriend, something that you haven't done for a while, always thought about doing but never gotten around to it, go ahead and do it. You'll like my girlfriend and I. She lives very close to a small little area on the beach, has a couple of pubs. A couple of months ago, I said, 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, let's go and have a afternoon pub crawl. She's like, but the sun stopped. There's a little bit of day drinking, never heard anyone. We walked down, drunk at a couple of pubs, came home, the sun was still up, and we had such a fun afternoon. And it was like, still, we talk about like going, that was just a nice break from the everyday, just to do something a little bit crazy and different. And that these books, the whole point of these books is to inspire people to do stuff like that, so that they just enjoy their friggin' life a little bit more.
Very well said, Mr. Simon. So, thank you so much for sharing all your books, and we are looking forward for more books to come. So, Mr. Simon, thank you for your time.
Cheers, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon. So, you're most welcome to come back, Mr. Simon. Just email
Yeah,
me.
it'll,